Hello and welcome back to Theatre Beard, the YouTube channel specifically for students of drama, theatre and performance studies or the performing arts, particularly those studying GCSE, BTEC or the International Baccalaureate. Today is another Wordy Wednesday and we're going to be looking at the terminology that we use when we look at the seating arrangements in Proscenium Arch Theatres. But before we do that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos, and also if you want to give this video a thumbs up while you're there, every little helps. Also, don't forget to check out the timestamps that are in the description box. That will allow you to jump to the most relevant section of this video, or by all means just watch the whole thing through. So let's get started. For this video, I thought it might be quite useful to look at a specific theatre, and I've chosen the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. And that's what it looks like from the stage looking out into the audience. Now, as you can tell from the image, there are lots of different layers of seats, and each of those layers has got a different name, and it can be a little bit confusing as to which one is which. So first of all, we've got this ground floor level that's known as the stalls. So the seats here go right from the very front row, right next to the stage, all the way back to the very last row on the ground floor. And those sections are often split up, so you'll often get front stalls and rear stalls. And you'll often find that the further you go back from the front, the cheaper the tickets are. Personally, I'm not a big fan of sitting right at the very front row because I find myself looking up at the stage and you can get a bit of a crick in your neck if you're there, but I know that some people like to get right to the front to be really close to the action. If it's a musical you're watching, you'll be right next to the orchestra pit as well, and that can be a little bit noisy. In the United States of America and in theatres on Broadway, this space, rather than just being known as the stalls, is sometimes known as the orchestra stalls, or sometimes just orchestra. So if you have looked at any seating plans of, say, the Richard Rodgers Theatre on Broadway where Hamilton is, you might have noticed that it says orchestra there, but it's what we would refer to as the stalls. Next up is this first balcony, and that goes by a couple of different names. It's known as the dress circle or the royal circle, depending on which theatre you're in. As you can see in this image, the Drury Lane Theatre has got 3 balconies, whereas if it has only got 1, very often that first balcony is just referred to as the circle, because you've really only got those 2 options if there's only 2 layers. You've got stalls or circle, whereas here you've got 3. Again, to confuse things even further, in America they refer to this balcony as the mezzanine. And I'm just putting these in just in case you stumble across them during your research into American theatres or potentially performances that have taken place in American theatres, because you'll find a lot of theatre seating plans are all available online. Okay, we're moving up another level. So above the dress circle or royal circle is the upper circle, and this is sometimes also known as the grand circle. Very often seats in the grand circle, this second balcony, can offer really good views of the stage because you are in that elevated position, but obviously it varies from theatre to theatre. But generally, if you're quite tall, like I am, it can start to get a little bit more cramped the more and more you move up the tiers. And finally, we have this third tier, which is known as the balcony or the gallery, which is why if you wanted to sit in the dress circle, it's really important to say the dress circle, not I'd like a seat in the balcony, because otherwise they're going to put you right up on the 3rd tier. Seats in the balcony or gallery can be really, really cramped, and it is quite a steep elevation. So if you're scared of heights, I would definitely recommend avoiding that space at all costs. Also, seats in this area have gained a nickname. So if you hear people referring to sitting in the gods, that's where they're talking about, right at the top of the auditorium, because you're so high up, you might as well be in heaven. It's for this same reason that they also have the nickname the nosebleeds, because you've gone so high up that you've got a nosebleed. All of that being said, if you are on a budget, seats in the gallery and balcony tend to be some of the cheapest available for performances, and if it's your only way to go and see theatre, then do it. That brings us on to the boxes. Now, around the outside of the auditorium, you might see little kind of balconies that are sticking out, and they're almost like a private room for a small amount of audience members, usually around about between 4 and 8 people. Now, many people think because you get your own private little room, it feels very, very special. However, because of the way that some older theatres were designed, it was actually more like a social experience. And so if you were sitting in a box, it was designed so that everybody else could see you really well, and you might not necessarily get the best view of the performance. Again, it varies from theatre to theatre, but there have been several times when I've been to a performance myself and I've seen people in their boxes have to get right to the edge and peer around the corner to be able to actually see the stage. So very often the boxes might be more expensive for a much worse view, because sometimes expensive things are worse. Also in this you can see all the different aisles that run right up the stalls, right up the dress circle, right in the upper circle and up in the balcony and gallery, and they're obviously there so that audience members can get to their seats and they'll be able to evacuate very quickly if there was any kind of emergency. And as you can see from the Drury Lane Theatre's seating chart, they refer to their different spaces as stalls, royal circle, grand circle, balcony. If you're interested, lots of other theatres have got their seating plans available online. Maybe pick your favourite West End show, find out what theatre it's in and just Google that theatre's seating plan and it should come up for you. Nowadays, if you're booking a seat for a show, very often theatres on their websites have actually got photographs of the kind of view that you will get from particular seats, so it's always worth checking those out. And particularly during this period when we can't get out and visit theatres, if you wanted to do a bit of research, it's a great way of being able to go and visit those different auditoriums, so get Googling. So that concludes today's Wordy Wednesday, all about the different names for the seating spaces in Proscenium Arch Theatres. Hopefully it's cleared up any confusion about all of those different names for the different spaces, and you'll be able to talk about them with confidence, particularly when you're booking a ticket. Thank you so much for joining me yet again. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because there will be more videos coming your way very soon.